It's all over, but the shouting. Auburn goes down to Texas A&M. The final score, game's not final yet, but we might as well. I mean, Auburn. There's no 11-point plays out here in 20 seconds. I don't see a Reggie Miller situation happening here for Auburn here in these last few. So everybody, jump on in here. Let's talk about the game. Auburn goes down to Texas A&M, 83-72 in College Station. Um, Definitely listen. Texas A&M is a good defensive basketball team, and they did their job defensively against Auburn. It's just what the way that Bruce Pearl and his staff um, coach offense doesn't work well against the way that Buzz Williams coaches the way that they defend. It's just not a it's not a great matchup, and it was going to take good shooting. It was going to take good outside shooting from Auburn to be able to make this to soften up the interior of that defense for Texas A&M, and they just didn't have it. Um, Tonight, Auburn went 9 of 22 from three. You know, Miles Kelly, who couldn't miss versus Kentucky, went 0 of 4. Now, Todd Pettiford hit 6 threes, right? Like he was the guy doing it, but nobody else. Chad had three, right? He hit 3 of 6, but you needed something from Miles. You needed something from probably Cheney, and something from Janai to be able to kind of balance out that stuff, and it just didn't happen. Like Miles Kelly really had after having such a phenomenal 30-point performance versus Kentucky, he had a terrible night offensively. Absolutely awful night offensively. But the story of this game is going to be what Texas A&M does to everybody, and that is the offensive glass. 24 offensive boards for Texas A&M in this game, 24-9. Second chance points, 29-11. That's your game right there. Auburn couldn't keep them off of the offensive glass. Auburn could not do, and then they turned the ball over too many times. 13 turnovers. I said that they probably need to be 12 or less. They 13. I don't think the turnovers were the big reason, but not being able to shoot the ball efficiently from the outside. 41% is going to look good on the stat sheet, but you needed to be able to knock down those open ones that Miles Kelly just missed in this one in order to really have. And then I think the ones Sahad missed weren't very good shots. So shot selection in some of those moments weren't very good. But overall, Texas A&M just really did what they do to teams. Appreciate everybody who's jumping in here late night. We won't be on here super long, but make sure that you go ahead and share the content with somebody out there. Like the video, please. Listen, you mad at Auburn, not mad at the War Report. Like the video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And let's just kind of take a look at some of the other stuff that we have here. Auburn on the night. Again, they shot 50% from the field. Like you're going to look at some of these statistics and say to yourself, man, why are you harping on how well they needed to be able to shoot the ball? I just think that they needed to shoot the ball way more efficiently than they did. 50% from the field, 41% from three. But they only shot the ball 50 times as opposed to Texas A&M, who took 65 shots in this game. Free throw percentage, they shot 87%, 13 of 15. Good percentage from the free throw line. You turn them over 11 times. Probably need to do a little bit more than that, but that's not terrible. 13-11. They're only +2 in the turnover. It's really going to come down to second chance opportunities. Really, like when you look at all of these numbers, second chance opportunities is where they got killed. 41 boards in total for Texas A&M to Auburn's 25. Again, 24-9 on the offensive glass. Bench points, they had 36 big bench points. Auburn only had 10. Now, you don't have Denver Jones in your rotation, who's going to allow Tahad Pettiford to not have to play 35 minutes in this game. You had 1, 2, 3, 4 players for Auburn playing 30 plus minutes in this game. Tahad, Janai, Chad, and Kelly all played 31 plus minutes in this game. Cheney had 24 minutes, and Dylan Cartwell played 22. That's not a typical Auburn rotation. Without Denver Jones in there. Now, you got some good minutes from Ja'Kai Howard, and we'll talk about some of the guys who contributed to this game positively for Auburn here in just a minute. But got some good minutes from your bench, but just not enough of an effort on the boards to really be able to take away what Texas A&M wants to be able to do to you. I'll get over here to you all's comments. Cool Breeze says too soft and no energy. Yeah, I mean, listen, Texas A&M, and they talked about this a little bit on the broadcast. Auburn with the quick turnaround, played Saturday, took Sunday off, really only one day of prep before they got right back and had to get to Texas A&M. And Texas A&M came in prepared for this for sure. Devin says disappointing loss. I'm not disappointed in this one. This is kind of went the way that I thought it was going to be. I mean, you want your guys to have a little bit more of a fight and at least take it down to the wire. But listen, they're allowed to have one bad game in all of the games that they played this season. Listen, they're allowed to have one stinker of a game, two stinkers really, because I don't think they played particularly well against Florida. But in a long season, two bad games is not. I'm not too down on them for this one. Big Gap says A&M always seems to have A&M always seems to have Auburn's number. Buzz Williams definitely has the recipe for beating a Bruce Pearl offense for sure. Devin asked, did Broom lose National Player of the Year these last two games? Listen, the media infatuation with that guy over there in North Carolina playing in the deep blue, maybe. I don't think it's fair, but maybe. I think Auburn now. I think in order for Janai Broom to win it, he's going to have a big game versus Alabama to erase the memory of these last two. They just want to give it to that kid over there, and they're going to find a reason to. So possibly. Maine says Tahad and Chad showed up at least. They definitely did, at least offensively. Let's see here. Devin says, there goes our number one ranking, and maybe we keep it if we beat Bama on Saturday. I mean, I don't know. I think, listen, again, looking for an opportunity to give it to that team over there in the state of North Carolina. So this is probably, yeah. I wouldn't be surprised by it because it's going to be the way this. I think Auburn's resume absolutely says they should still be the number one team, but looking for any reason, you're giving it to them right there. Let's see here. Bad time for Auburn to start to regress. I mean, after you just beat the brakes off of Kentucky, I don't know that this is a regression. So wasn't a good game, but I wouldn't say it was a regression overall. So I mean, I think that's a little bit of an overblown analysis of regression. But hey, listen, you definitely are entitled to whatever opinion you have. Sorry, I didn't see the super chats here. Jamal Pye jumps in and says, "Throw that lob to Hod. Kelly had a bad shooting, but Tahad's got to get others involved. Team was terrible with him on the court. He got his points though." Yeah, I mean, listen, Tahad he's a scorer. He wants to go out there. He wants to score the basketball. Auburn's going to need to get a guy who's more of a point guard. I think next year, so Tahad can come off the ball a little bit more and play and spell minutes at point more so than he did this year. But I think, overall, listen, Tahad, the thing for me with him tonight was the 3 turnovers. He only had 2 assists and 3 turnovers. That's not good point guard minutes in 35 minutes of play. That's the thing I think I'm going to dislike the most about him. 19 points on 6 of 11 shooting, with 6 of 10 of them being daggone 3-pointers. He only took 1 shot that wasn't a 3, was 1 of 2 from the free throw line, but hit 6 threes tonight. But the efficiency with the assist to turnover ratio is where you're going to say, if you're Tahad as your point guard, you can't have that, right? Your guard play tonight, Chad had 5 assists, Miles had 4, and Tahad had 2. So you got in total from your guards out there, 11 assists to 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 turnovers. It's a decent assist to turnover ratio. Not what you want as a team, though. 16 assists to 13 turnovers. That ratio is not what you want at all. Mercy with the super chat says, there goes the number 1 overall seed unless Duke lays a massive egg. They're not losing any more games in the ACC. Listen, the ACC is a joke of a conference. Of course, Duke's not going to lose anymore. But yeah, again, I would agree with you that I think that if you're looking for a reason, Auburn at least gave a crack of daylight for them to give a reason. I think you now have to go out and win that Bama game to be able to have a legitimate argument for number 1 overall seed. Yes. Um, let's see here. Boom, boom, boom. Big Gap says Broom needs a huge game against the Bams for Player of the Year. I don't disagree with that. Devin, rebounding is terrible, was not good in this game. Hasn't been good, honestly, all season. This has been an Achilles heel for this team that they don't rebound the ball particularly great on the offensive glass against teams that do a good job of it. Auburn struggles against them. But again, it's by virtue of the way those teams play offense and the way that Auburn plays defense that they struggle with that is because they're such a good shot blocking team that when they come over to block the shot, that leaves the backside rebound available for the big. So not a great job in being able to do that tonight for sure. Let's see. Doom, doom, doom. Lawrence says some of our shot selection was awful. Agreed with that, especially at specific times. Like there was a time in particular, I remember Chad came down, dribbled the ball around a bunch, threw up a shot. I was just like, yeah, and then he ends up like getting like the ball knocked out off him. I just wasn't very good possession to hide a couple of times. Just came down chucking up shots because he was feeling it. Miles Kelly didn't take good shots once he wasn't making it. Missed wide open layup. It's just this was not a very good offensive performance from Auburn tonight. Again, the numbers aren't going to say that. 50% shooting from the field, 41% from three, 87% from the free throw line. That's not going to say bad offensive shooting night, but the shots that you missed were very makeable ones sometimes, and the shot selection wasn't great at times. So Juice High says Howard should have had more minutes. I don't disagree with this. I think, and let's get into the conversation about two guys that I think came off of the bench and actually gave Auburn really great energy. That is, and it's not going to show up in the stat sheet for both of these guys in a major way, but Ja'Kai Howard and Chris Moore, I think, gave Auburn the kind of energy you needed to have in this game. Chris Moore only 2 points, 1 of 1 shooting there. And in 8 minutes of action, Ja'Kai Howard had 12 minutes, 4 points, 2 of 4 shooting, 0 of 1 from the three, 4 rebounds, and that absolutely horrendous tech that he got called on him. That I'm just like, come on, bro. Are we being for real with this? But I liked their energy when they came into the game. Ja'Kai Howard, not a great, speaking of poor shot selection, not great shot selection on the 2 shots that he missed. But I loved his activity and his energy that he brought. Hopefully that will allow him to get some more playing time coming up here and get some rotational minutes in there where he can contribute. Because again, I love his athleticism and his energy was really good tonight. Same thing for Chris Moore. Chris Moore was giving you a lot of good energy when he got onto the floor. It's not going to show up in the stat sheet, but he absolutely did have a good effort out there in that regard. Let's see here. I'm way behind in chats. Apologize for that, y'all. I'm gonna try to skip ahead here. Um, uh, Lawrence says we fouled a lot late in the shot clock. Absolutely did. Just kind of frustration defense a lot there, right? Like you got late into the clock, you're playing well, but then you're trying to go and get the block shot as opposed to being solid, or you're falling for pump fakes. And again, Texas A&M, one of the best teams in the conference at drawing fouls, right? Like it's something that Miles Kelly actually talked about this. He said that he feels as if the team prepares the best of any team in the nation. I just don't think that they prepared well for this game. They were on a short turnaround, and normally this game would be a Wednesday night game. It was a Tuesday night game after the Saturday trip, and then it's a back-to-back road thing. So they were in Lexington, flew back, had 1 day of rest, turn around, get right back on a plane, get to again, that's not an excuse. I just don't think that the prep was there the way that this team normally prepares. And the short turnaround definitely did not help them in terms of that. So not a great game overall. Let's see. Devin says, I'm telling you, UNC is on fire right now. I would not be shocked if they upset Duke on Saturday. I would be shocked just because I don't actually think UNC is a great team, but they have been playing better. But again, it's against the ACC. So maybe the rivalry of it will do something for it. I don't know. But yeah, not. I want to hang my hat on that. But hey, listen, if you are right, then I'm going to be very happy about it because that puts Auburn right back in the driver's seat. Let's see here. Philip says, I think some of our fans are getting the Bama effect. Lose the game and the sky is falling. We are doomed forever. Chill. It's basketball. Agreed. This is something I've actually been talking about for years in terms of basketball. Like losses are going to happen. Teams are going to go on runs, like things of that. It doesn't mean that your team sucks. It doesn't mean like it's going to happen. You're not going to be flawless every game. And yes, that oh, they showed the blueprint of how to beat Auburn. Like a bunch of teams thought that they had the blueprint to beat Auburn. Auburn found ways to win those games. Tonight wasn't the night for Auburn. But again, I think this was more Texas A&M doing like was less about Auburn wasn't playing well and Texas A&M playing really well. I remind you all, Texas A&M is a team that typically makes about 6 threes per game. They made 9 in this game, shot 36% from three. They are awful from three. They shoot in the 20s from three. So offensively, they were shooting way above what their high water mark is right there. But again, they did that and they still got the offensive. Like you can't give up both of them. If you're going to give up the shots to them, you can't give up the offensive rebounds as well. And so that's where Auburn's got to look themselves in the mirror and say, hey, we didn't do a good job in this on our effort of getting to the glass. Now, I will say, and I don't blame the refs for the game. I don't think it was a very well officiated game. I get frustrated when the inequity seems to be there in the physicality that's allowed for one team, not the other. I don't think that the refs did a very good job of allowing physicality to be dished out for both teams. But Texas A&M was the one to strike first. And when you strike first, think about this. Auburn lost this game by 11 points. And Texas A&M jumped out to like this huge lead at the beginning. Like Auburn just they kind of sleptwalked their way into this game. And if they don't come out sleepwalking, this game's probably a lot tighter throughout. So just got to start better if you're Auburn and make yourself be in a better position to finish at the end. Let's see here. What else do we have? Riley, go to sleep, my boy. Those guys with gutter play. Riley, man, you're in Germany, man. I appreciate you tapping in with us for sure. Go get you some sleep, man. Let's see. Name can't be blank says guard play was bad tonight, a bit worrisome into March, but with the sample size of the season, I have to believe we can clean it up hopefully as soon as Saturday. Listen, your guard rotation wasn't what it typically is. You typically will have Denver Jones, and we've had seen Auburn have guard play that wasn't good. Again, I don't think one game. I mean, we've so quickly forgotten how well the guards played versus Kentucky, like so quickly. Now all of a sudden, guard play is a issue. Like just guards were the reason you won the Kentucky game. It wasn't good tonight. It wasn't. But like it's not a trending direction for the team. They just did this a game ago where they played phenomenally. Like yes, it's a good observation for tonight. I don't know that it tells you anything going forward for the tournament though. Let's see here. What else do we have out here? Lawrence says, Texas A&M doesn't normally shoot well. Absolutely correct there. Um, let's see. What else do we have? Basketball is absolutely a long season. It's going to happen. Mr. Beautiful says Buzz is just annoying. He is absolutely a thorn in the side of Bruce Pearl for sure. For sure. Keith got out rebounded. Yeah, that's an understatement. 41-25. Do we want to do everybody's favorite segment tonight? Because it's not going to be pretty. It's going to be a bloodbath. You know what? I'm doing it. Don't worry. We're going to do it. You guys can be. We're going to do the plus minus tonight, even though it's going to look awful. But let's get to it. And man, you know what? The only thing I really hate about this is Auburn did not get the opportunity to go undefeated in the SEC on the road. But let's talk about plus minus tonight for the guys. We will start at the player with the lowest plus minus. So the most negative, and that was tonight. Chad Baker Mazara with a minus 17, played 34 minutes, minus 17 tonight, 15 points, 5 of 10 shooting, 3 of 6 from the three. Chad was hot and cold for me tonight. He was hot and cold for me tonight. Sometimes it looked really good. Sometimes I was like, "What are you doing, my boy?" The one where he had the fast break and he threw the ball back over his head, I don't know what he was doing there. A couple of the other passes that he made, I was just like, "Yo, what's happening right now?" And he definitely, he kept his composure for the most part tonight, but he was showing his frustration for sure out there. But Chad with a minus 17 tonight out there. Next up with a minus 13, Dylan Cardwell, 8 points on 4 of 4 shooting. I think Dylan actually had a decent game tonight. The plus minus, of course, isn't going to show it because they lost the game, but where he did not have enough of an impact was on the boards. Only 3 boards for Dylan Cardwell tonight, but 2 assists with no turnovers is really good for him. No blocked shots, 2 steals in 22 minutes of play, but a minus 13 there for Dylan Cardwell. Next up with a minus 12, Tahad Pettiford, 6 of 11 shooting, 6 of 10 from 3, 1 of 2 from the free throw line. He had 19 points, 2 rebounds, 2 assists, but 3 turnovers tonight in his 35 minutes of action. Next up, Janai Broom with a minus 11, 8 points. Another game for Janai Broom where he doesn't reach double figures. Mr. Double-Double has not had a double-figure game in the last 2. 4 of 9 shooting. He had 5 boards. Oh, excuse me. Janai had 7 boards, 2 assists, and 2 turnovers. Minus 11 there for Janai Broom. Rounding out our players in the negatives, minus 9 for Miles Kelly tonight. 12 points on 1 of 8 shooting, 0 of 4 from 3. He made all 10 free throws, though. So he made a layup and 10 free throws to get to his 12 points. He had 4 assists, 3 rebounds, 1 turnover, and 5 steals tonight for Miles Kelly. Good job stealing the basketball. Not great on the defensive end as far as in the half court, but he did come away with some steals tonight to be able to contribute in a meaningful way on the defensive end. Those are all the negative players who had a negative plus minus tonight. Super chat here from Zach Dixon, who says, "I'm a little late. I hope Buzz Williams takes the Indiana job or something. Tired of playing him. Kind of owns Bruce." Factual statement there. Cannot debate the facts. 6-2 versus Bruce Pearl in his tenure at Texas A&M. Absolutely ownership and probably an abundance of Bruce Pearl getting stuffed in lockers and people calling Buzz his dad and burping him, all that kind of stuff, memes floating around the internet tonight. And deservedly so. He has absolutely owned this matchup. All right. Next up in a 0 and even in his 12 minutes of play, Ja'Kai Howard, 2 of 4 from the field for 4 points, had 4 rebounds, 1 turnover, no assists tonight. Broke even tonight on the plus minus Ja'Kai Howard. Next up with a +1 was Jaheim Hudson in his 2 minutes. He was a +1. So Auburn scored 1 more point than the other team in the 2 minutes that Jaheim Hudson was out there. He came down with 1 board in his 2 minutes. That was the only thing in his stat line, was that 1 rebound. Next up, Chaney Johnson with a +1 in his 4 points on 2 of 3 shooting. Chaney only 1 rebound in this game. 1 rebound, 1 assist, 1 turnover, 2 block shots, and a steal. The rebounding numbers from your guys, just not like Dylan Cardwell with 3 boards and Chaney Johnson with 1. That ain't gonna get it at all against a team like Texas A&M. And the guy with the highest plus minus tonight was Chris Moore, 2 points, 1 of 1 shooting. Chris Moore also no boards in this game. 8 minutes of play, but had a +5 in his 8 minutes out there on the floor. Again, I think Chris Moore played really good minutes. Probably could have used him a little bit more. Probably could have played Ja'Kai Howard a little bit more in this game and given Tahad more of a breast. 35 minutes is a lot of minutes for Tahad. Chad, 34 minutes out there. And Miles Kelly with 31. 3 guards playing a lot of minutes, but they got a long break here between now and Saturday to get themselves recharged to finish out the season versus Alabama. Gonna need a good defensive effort against a team in Bama who's gonna look to come in there and try to shoot 432 3-pointers in this game. So hopefully Auburn is prepared for that, and hopefully Denver Jones, having taken this game off, is going to be ready to go. Get him a warm-up game before tournament play starts. So hopefully we'll be able to see that. All right. Let's see. I'll grab a few more chats here before we get out of here. Daryl says, still getting the brooms ready for Bama Saturday. Absolutely need to go ahead and get that going. Let's see here. Make Auburn great again says they look tired. They just stood there and watched them grab rebound after rebound. I don't know if they stood there and watched them, but they definitely were getting outworked on the glass for sure. James says, need more from Chaney and the tourney. Yeah, I mean, listen, again, wasn't a good matchup for Auburn, and there aren't a lot of teams that play like Texas A&M. Texas A&M is one of those anomaly of teams out there that you just kind of don't want to run into if you have a particular style of play that Auburn does. The question is, do other teams play in this style? And not really, right? There's just not a lot of teams that are going to play in this style. Actually, Houston really plays in the style of Texas A&M, and Auburn was able to get the win versus Houston. Just got to get a better effort, particularly on the glass from Auburn, when you start to play teams like this. G. Curry says A&M out-hustled Auburn, kind of expected given the schedule. Yeah, I mean, you're a team in Texas A&M that's playing with a little bit of desperation. Auburn probably coming off of a little bit of a high after the Kentucky game, short turnaround, all the things. But you still have to play better than that. Again, props to Texas A&M. The way that they play was going to be a problem for Auburn, and Auburn just did not do a good job of adjusting to that play. Particularly, I think, what Texas A&M did a really good job of is taking away the short roll from Janai Broome when they were going through the high pick and roll stuff. Again, I think with a better prep time, Auburn would have come up with a different attack strategy against the Texas A&M for what they were doing. But just that short turnaround, they just did not have a good opportunity to do that. And, listen, you're not going to get a ton of prep going forward, right? You're going to have one night to figure out how you're going to attack these teams. So Auburn's got to do a better job on the short prep of doing their due diligence. Now, the only difference is you're not really going to have the travel involved with that short prep, right? Like you're going to be right there in that same place. So hopefully Auburn and the depth, if you can get Denver Jones back healthy, will pay dividends as we get into the tournament. All right, we're going to get out of here, man. It's getting late, almost 11 o'clock here. It's almost 12 o'clock on the East Coast. Appreciate you guys for jumping in here. Before you leave, please like the video, subscribe to the channel, share the content with somebody. We're back at you guys with the midweek report, probably talking a little bit more about this game tomorrow night. But I'm out of here until the next time. And as always, War Eagle.